What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what really happened today and what shorts did. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. SoFi did close in the green, 2.05%, 2077 the low, 2159 the high. Overall, today was quite the interesting day. So you had pretty good data that did come out. So PPI came in at 0 and forecast was 0.3. Manufacturing data also did come in better than anticipated. So overall, pretty good. A complete 180 from yesterday's CPI data. So you had now people very optimistic. And then in addition to that, this caused some volatility. So it caused a dip, and then it caused pretty much a nice push higher. And that was the back and forth between Trump and Powell. Well, I guess it wasn't back and forth, it was just more one-sided, but yeah, Trump is hell-bent on really getting rid of Powell, and this is where you kind of had some inconsistency throughout the day. So Trump denied having and writing any letter, but White House did state that they've drafted a letter to pretty much fire Powell. So we'll wait and see what does come, but the market did really push higher in the second half of the trading day as people started to speculate on what that could potentially mean. And I think it is fair to assume that the first instance, so probably not the July 30th meeting, but the following one, you most likely will see a 50 basis point cut if Powell is kicked out. So market loves that. Of course, I think that's still a certain level of grayness. This is why you saw a crazy sell-off, but generally very good for growth stocks, very good for SoFi and everything else. Let me know your viewpoint on that. Specific to SoFi though, there wasn't any news, no SEC filings or anything like that. So it's good to see SoFi really still moving higher. Unfortunately, it didn't hit a new 52-week high. A lot of stocks did today, but I feel just SoFi has been doing a lot. And today was, yeah, it kind of moved up with the broader market, but still I feel like the pullback was largely still consolidation. So SoFi is gaining some pretty good strength again. So hopefully in the next couple of trading days, it will retest that 52-week high. A couple of things as well for tomorrow. We do have retail sales, initial jobless claims as well. So those are going to be the big ones for tomorrow. And then Friday, we have a lot of big data. So aside from that though, shorts, they didn't really do all that much today. So shorts did end up returning 96,000 shares. So this has been rather odd over the last couple of trading days. They've been oddly returning. And then as well, at the end of the day, still not really doing all that much. I'll show you what I mean for that in a second, but 14.31% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 155.28 million shares overall are being shorted. So anticipate them to be fairly active in my opinion Friday, and that would be linked to options. But as you can kind of see from the teal line, they didn't really do anything whatsoever. Kind of one or two transactions, but for the most part, they just sat back and took it like a champ, and they've been losing a ton of money over the last 3 months, as I've brought up in previous videos. But one thing I do want to share with you while I'm actually on Ortex is a lot of people always like to look at 13Fs, because now we are officially in Q3, so people will be analyzing what these 13Fs kind of show, what institutions did in Q2. And as you can kind of see from the holders, once I orient it based on this right here, ultimately you can kind of see that a lot of the big players did increase their position within Q2. So BlackRock itself did increase 515,000 shares, so a little bit more of a further breakdown right over here. But aside from that, you had Geode, State Street, a lot of big ones all increasing their position. ARK, and this is one thing I do admit that I was wrong with, was Cathie Wood buying. So I did a video, I think it came out saying that she bought a huge sum of SoFi, and normally I'm not really that big of a fan of hers, and she gets one or two things right, and I think she's just overdone and overhyped. So I kind of saw her buying into SoFi as more of a bearish thing, but I got to give her a round of applause. She timed that perfectly. I think, to be fair, I think she bought in at, what was that, $15, $16. So she definitely timed that very well. So ARK investment did increase their position as well in Q2, 1.97 million. And that big transaction that she did, I believe that was in Q3. So that will not be included in this. So in Q2 alone, she increased 1.97 million. So I got to give credit when credit is due. So she definitely did a lot of good things for that. But nonetheless, a lot of institutions did increase their position. So very good to see. Vanguard, I don't believe, has disclosed theirs yet, but BlackRock, obviously another big name. Like I said, they increased 515,000 shares, so definitely good stuff. But aside from that, moving over to the options, we had 32 million in calls, 7.65 million in puts. 45% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, and I feel like this number is rather skewed only because majority of that was done in the first half of the trading day. So market didn't really know how to digest the Trump drama, and I don't think anyone would have anticipated this nice push higher because of what that would mean by Powell getting fired. So I don't really feel like this 45% is fully accurate, a good representation of exactly what did happen throughout the day. From this though, from the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be kind of roughly around that 22 to 2250 by the end of Friday. So a new 52-week high is anticipated. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub roughly between that $20 to $21 range. So kind of wide, but still, given everything and where we did close, somewhat evenly divided. I'll give you a quick overview of this. I know it's only Wednesday, so it might be a little bit premature, but this is all the open interest. So you do have 40,000 at that 20, 29,000 at 21, 30,000 at 22, and then 20,000 at 23. Of course, you have some other ones a little bit lower as well, such as at the $14 strike price, 15 and 16. But a couple ones to really watch for ultimately by this Friday is at $21 and $22 one strike prices. So just kind of stay tuned for that. I'll give you guys updates in the following couple days' videos. But aside from that, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. A lot of big names were getting in, so 4.9 million. And what I mean by big names is clearly 13.8, 13.4 million back to back. That's not chump change. That's not small players. That's big fish getting into SoFi. 1.06, 1.4, 57 million. So a lot of big transactions did occur throughout the trading day. And ultimately, with it closing at 21.39, it is trading between the R1 and the pivot. So 21.14 is going to be a strong support, and then 21.42 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, followed by 21.59. I'm looking at the 1 minute chart on a side note, so this is why it's very kind of narrow. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But aside from all of that, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings aside from what I've brought up in previous videos. No new articles really talking about SoFi. So I think at this stage now people are just waiting for kind of macro data points or potentially just SoFi's earnings just to give the green light to either move higher or potentially consolidate a little bit, as I've brought up. But on the actual chart, SoFi, despite it kind of going back and forth yesterday, still very bullish and optimistic. So above all the key pivotal moving averages, because of the volatility, it didn't really skew this all that much. So the stochastic RSI is still showing SoFi as relatively overbought, but as well, pretty much the majority of the market is in the same boat. So the first sign of weakness, negative weakness, you could see some volatility, as what we've seen yesterday, as well as even today during the intraday when SoFi did sell off. You kind of had this crazy pullback, and that's just because of the grayness associated to Trump and Powell and what that does truly mean. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Give yourself a shout out. Did you buy? Did you sell? I know one thing that kind of got brushed under the table was a tariff deal with Indonesia. That it's still, I've seen some people kind of vaguely talking about it, but still I feel like people now don't really care about tariffs. It's now just focused on rate cuts. So yeah, what's your viewpoint? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And then one final thing, if you are looking for some solid buy signals, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever kind of need. So definitely pop over there, take a look, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.